In the last review, I talked about how the Mafex Batman figure from Batman v Superman was my favorite figure of the character that was released. I was absolutely over the moon with this guy since I first got him, but you might notice that I don't have a Superman on display anywhere, besides this guy, and the reason for that is simple. The consensus on the Mafex Superman was overwhelmingly negative. He had pretty poor quality control issues, leading to him falling apart easily. He didn't come with any incredible accessories, and he just kinda looked bland. Seeing as though Mafex really knocked it out of the park with their Justice League Batman, hopefully the subject of today's review can rectify old mistakes. Today we will, of course, be looking at the Justice League Superman figure by Mafex. Well, first off, I'm already impressed by how this figure looks. His bright colors stand out extremely well, especially when he's standing in front of a sea of Batman figures. The likeness is pretty good. Not great, but not bad by any stretch. There are certain angles where he looks just like Henry Cavill, but for the most part, he kinda just looks like a young John Travolta. The suit itself was given the same intricate detailing that the Batman figures have gotten. The basketball-like texture is represented very nicely here. I say this a lot, but it really is impressive at this scale, because sometimes tiny detailing can make the figure look too busy. All the patterns on the outfit are here and accounted for, including some details I never even noticed on the costume before. The cape is a lot more similar to the Batman v Superman figures rather than the Justice League Batman. The cloth is attractive enough, but the real great part here is that you can pose the cape. Mafex does this cape posing very well, and I'm extremely happy to see it return with Superman. I have a feeling it'll be a lot of fun for flying poses. Now, the biggest negative I have so far is his feet. Something about his feet will absolutely not allow him to stand up correctly. I've had to fiddle with both of his feet in order to keep him in a solid pose, which makes his feet look awkward. Other than that, his articulation works just fine. His arms can go out a fair amount, although maybe not as much as I would like. His legs are pretty much the same. There's a drop-down mechanic for the legs, but it feels really stiff. Hopefully this is only on my figure and not across the entire release. The best bit of articulation would have to be in his neck. His neck and head allow him to look all the way up as to allow for flying poses. We'll get more into that later. His first set of accessories would be these open palm hands. Nothing really too special about these. Next up are these slightly less open hands. These are really only good for mixing them in with other hands for action poses. His last set of hands are these gripping hands, which would be useful if he actually had something to grip. These feel like there was supposed to be another accessory included for him to grab onto, but they got rid of it at the last minute. Speaking of gripping, the Nightmare Batman figure came with an accessory I've never been able to use until right now. He came with a hand for Superman to grab Batman's cowl with. Unfortunately, the skin tones are completely different, and the peg sizes are wildly off, so this doesn't work at all. Here we have his first alternate head. This is showing him in a more angry expression. I'm really not a fan of these heads that don't change the initial expression much. I would so much rather a smiling head, or one to simulate his heat vision. Next up is this very angry head. This one is definitely my favorite of the bunch. The expression is very animated, and I think the likeness is actually the most solid here. Last but not least is the standard Maifix Stand, which of course can be used to pull off flight poses. Maifix stands are really solid, so I'm glad they always include them with their figures. Overall, Superman is an extremely solid figure, representing the character very well. He shares a problem that pretty much every Superman figure has. He doesn't come with any exciting accessories. However, I can't really think of what accessories I would have given him. He looks awesome when posed with the rest of the Trinity. His articulation is very solid, and the likeness is pretty good. I would absolutely recommend this figure to any Superman fan, or anyone else like me who wants to see the entire league on their shelf.